Welcome. It's good to be with you again. I had a really interesting discussion with Rita Wilkins. Rita's a fellow designer and also a personal friend, I'm happy to say. Rita's been nicknamed the Downsizing Designer, both for her work around physical downsizing, but also helping people declutter their lives. She's been through the process herself, so she comes with both professional and personal wisdom. And when we think about longevity, we always want to be thinking about how do we get rid of that baggage that drags us down every day that we don't even know is there. As always, you can find more information at longevityadvantage.com or join the conversation on Facebook. Happy to have you with us. Sit back and enjoy.
Really gotten very excited about it because a design process is something that you see a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a journey, and there's an outcome. So if you want to design and live the life you love, these are some steps that you could take.
It's just hard for a lot of people to imagine anything beyond what they know today.
Yeah.
And they really do need somebody because there's a lot of trust involved.
I asked them to start listening and noticing, paying attention to what are you longing for and what are you complaining about. That's the beginning of this journey. And when you start letting that sink down into who you are, it's really quite interesting to see then, because then the conversation is different.
Where I see it, you run into this risk of what I call paralysis. Partner paralysis is that
partner paralysis,
there's something, some event usually has to happen to intervene.
When you live in a smaller space, you might want more flex furniture, so things have multi-purpose. They don't have any of that, so it starts to show up as voids, and okay, well, that can be added in. But you can have the lifestyle that you're wanting by living in a smaller space, and it can actually be a better lifestyle because you don't then have the maintenance of the 3-car garage and the yard and all of that.
The sooner you do it, the sooner you get to experience it, the sooner you gain your freedom.
So I think here's a perfect example. When people are thinking about retirement, I strongly encourage them to put their toe in the water. So that's why you see people going to Charleston or to Florida, and maybe for 1 week and then a 2 week and then they rent for a month. That's putting your toe in the water. Like, what would it be like to live here? In my world, we call it prototyping lifestyle. Another thing to consider, and baby boomers are certainly considering this now, is to rather than buy, rent. So you don't have the same long-term commitment. Now, there has been a mindset in America, a stigma, so to speak, of renting versus buying. I'm renting for the first time ever since college. And I have all the flexibility, mobility, and lack of responsibility, which is something I'm kind of cherishing right now. So when you have less that you actually own, you do have more time, more money, more freedom. So living in Philadelphia, you would think it would be far more expensive. It's not. I save a lot of money by living in Philadelphia, which is just amazing to me. I did some numbers, but I didn't quite expect what I save every month.
So I was renting for a couple of years, and I remember a leaking tap. It was just one of those annoying drip, drip, drip. Yeah. And I didn't have any of my tools or anything. Right. I left them, everything was in storage. And I remember calling to get somebody to come up and do it. And he was up, apologizing. It wasn't going to be an hour, perhaps an hour till he could get there. And I remember thinking, wow. And with renting, what your costs are. So from a planning standpoint, there are no big surprises of, the roof is leaking or, we got water in the basement. Right. What are we going to do now? So
for me, I was very fortunate to, have a big house. I built it and loved it for 10 years and then went to Senegal to visit my son and realized this big house is not who I am anymore. It could be a conversation about, it's time. I'm divorced, I'm widowed, I'm retiring. Do we really need all this anymore? Another kind of conversation you might start hearing yourself say is, I'm ready for a simpler life. I'm ready to travel more. I'm ready to move near my grandchildren.
the default is always just keep doing what you're doing. And unfortunately,
until a crisis occurs.
Right. So here's in operations we call it run to failure. Well, businesses don't operate very well in a run to failure mode, and neither do lifestyles. So the default is we're going to keep doing what we're doing until we can't.
Right.
And of course, at that point, you're now in a corner, and your options are going to be much fewer. And now you're going to be making crisis decisions as opposed to lifestyle decisions, right?
Yeah. We're now kind of shifting gears a little bit to all of that stuff that we've accumulated. And when you think about, I mean, I can speak for myself, I had 5,000 square foot home. The average American, according to a study at University of California, the average American has 300,000 items in their home. I'm sure I was probably double that. And what didn't occur to me as I was doing it, or until I was doing it, I should say, is how much stuff I had accumulated over all of those years. We really have to think about what we can do now to downsize, declutter, and to make room for the life that we really want.
I go into some people's homes who have done a phenomenal job of decluttering. And when you go in the house, it's so relaxing. Yeah. They're relaxed, they're living a simple life in terms of they're not managing stuff. Yeah. And then have the other extreme where they're navigating through the boxes of things and of course, once you get behind, then it really just becomes harder and harder. So
it's amazing how clutter impacts the quality of our life, and so it's not just the physical clutter; it's the mental clutter. And when we start, saying, "Well, I can't move because I don't know how. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough," all of those things we tell ourselves, or, starting and then stopping and coming right back to square one, never really completing what you started. Those are all the things that are cluttering our minds as well as our physical spaces. And, when you think, if I didn't have that, what would my life be like? It'd be simpler, it'd be happier, and freer.
What I would hate to think for anybody is, could you imagine, in the later part of your life, kind of feeling like you hadn't done things that you really, truly wanted to do or wanted to try. So it's that being bold and trying some things early.
There's so many emotional aspects of downsizing. And one is that the kids, this is where we grew up. How can you get rid of our house?
Yeah.
Or the on a smaller scale, how can you get rid of all of my trophies in my bedroom? I mean, you've only been gone for 5 years. I hear that one all the time. Yeah. So I laugh about it because it is kind of a funny conversation, but it's real to some.
Absolutely.
So other things that are quite emotional when you're downsizing is not knowing if you're going to make the right decision. So, should I downsize? Should I right size? Should I, and, we had that conversation before. Some people move 2 or 3 times because they didn't get it right. We hope to help prevent that because that could get extremely expensive.
Again, I can look at my own example. We have 4 houses collapsed into one through, through various family changes, through, parents with 2 homes, and it all ended up here. And we have consciously been working at it, but when you look at it, it is a daunting task. The only thing more daunting is imagining looking at it in 5 years from now, realizing that nothing would have changed.
That's true.
It can be a lonely process. So it sounds like just having someone with you to go through it, I would think would be emotionally very helpful.
It's funny. I've run big projects all of my design career. So, I just looked at my house, and even though it was daunting, I said, I can do this. Well, you don't know how many nights that first month that I was trying to do it on my own that I cried. And I made a call to my sister, one of my sisters, and I said, I really need your help. And I'm so glad you called because we'd love to come and help you. So then we had a girls' weekend. And we not only had fun, we got a lot done. And then my boys would say, well, how about if I bring up a couple of my friends and we'll help? Amen. So I don't think you can really do this well without a team. But for me, the goal is always to have fun at whatever it is that you do. And my downsizing journey was fun. And so if I can pass that on to anyone who's considering downsizing, definitely get a team.
Even to get rid of too much stuff,
Yep.
and you buy a couple of new things in its place, not the end of the world.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than moving with too much stuff.
So on the emotional side of it for you, Rita's a different person now, I'm guessing, than you were five years ago.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Tell me about who you are now relative to kind of who you used to be.
I'm truly living the life that I designed and a life that I love. So I have more time, more money, and more freedom. I've just written my book, new bestseller. I would never had time to do that. I wouldn't have had time to sit and think. I would have been having to get the yard done or something else done. But now that I live in my tiny jewel box apartment in Philadelphia, I literally have time and freedom. What's different? I've never been happier. I'm at peace. I'm having fun. I feel very alive. And nothing is stopping me from doing whatever I want to do. I now have far less stuff, 95% less than I once had, and I've never been happier. So my message basically is, and it was in my TED Talk, downsize your life. Why less is more? So I have a very rich, abundant life with less, and that's my message. And for people who are interested at all in that, they can try it on a much smaller level. They don't have to be as radical as me. And I didn't intend to be radical. I'm just not that kind of person, but it was pretty radical. And now, it does wake people up to say, wow, that's a lot. But you know what? I wouldn't change a thing at all. I would do the same thing. I might have done it sooner. And that's the only regret, is that I didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, so obviously, as you say, you didn't intend to have this be as radical. But what to me that says is, through the process, you connected with your authentic self to know that this is really who you are. And that started to come into view, which previously was probably nowhere on your radar.
Under my stuff.
It was in behind dresses and everything else in your closet.
Well, and now there's the freedom to pursue the things that really matter to me. And that's making a difference for others.
When you have the ability to feel like you're able to help others, this to me is probably, like you say, this is the most fun I've had in all of my working years. Right? It's because you see such a need in people, to be able to really truly help them in ways that matter is a real gift that we're given if we're bold enough to take it. And there are so many ways to help people, right? And if we look at finding our purpose, and establishing what's our legacy going to be, like after you and I are gone and they look back at us, it's probably not going to be the things that we did inside people's homes, right? It's ultimately going to be, what are the lives that we've touched in meaningful ways that that their families would remember them for having made those choices and things.
So it is about reimagining, reinventing, and redesigning our lives. And I'm totally committed to having people understand they can actually design their life. And it's all about choice. It does take courage. It takes boldness to live on those skinny branches sometimes. But it's where the life really is, existing and challenging and fun and exciting. And, so why wouldn't you choose that?
Yeah. Can you show us your book, and
Sure,
just so we make sure that people get a good look at it? And
so my book is called Downsize Your Life, Upgrade Your Lifestyle: Secrets to More Time, Money, and Freedom. It is on Amazon, and you can reach me at ritawilkins.com. And I was very excited this week because our book became an Amazon bestseller.
Awesome.
Never
awesome.
expected that before.
Awesome. That's terrific. Well, congratulations. And I read it. It was it's a really interesting, having come in this space as well. That is not an easy book to write. You did a great job writing it in a blend of the emotional aspects you touched on and the practical aspects of some how-to, but how-to books can get boring pretty quickly. So it's a beautiful blend and written very nicely. Pick that up and read it over a weekend. You'll absolutely get a lot out of
Thanks,
it. So
Scott.
it was a pleasure.
That matters. I appreciate your comments.
Yeah.